Welcome back, friends, to Occultists Anonymous and our Mage the Awakening Chronicle Into the West. We return back to Legba. You'll remember from a month ago. For us last week, yay! Time shenanigans. I told you guys I was going to work on this.
That's right. There was an Archmage of Time with us.
Oh yeah. Actually, I was going to say, is she? Yes, she is. That is kind of her focus. When we last left, Legba had ventured into the astral realms, into the Temenus, met with Abul, who said that, hey, saved my kid, worth it. Aged myself 15 years, totally worth it. Collected up some dogs, sent them looking for the anchors, and to report back. And then went and summoned forth what was it that you had? Because I remember we said there was the big narrator voices. Merlin, I think you announced that that you came with tidings, very like Gandalf-esque even, right?
Yes. So as soon as Legba crossed the threshold into Camelot, then all of a sudden there's, as you declared greatly, right, a great a change, right, from the booming narrator's voice, with a Centaurian voice, were the words, "Merlin returns with news from a journey of 100 years," or something like that.
Very good stuff. But before that, thank you to all our patrons who you thought I forgot. I just doing it out of order just to mess things up. Thank you to our patrons who do support us monetarily. Thank you to 1D4 Con James, Adele, Alis, Alexander, Allstrit, Bernie, Chris, Doc, Emil, Jeff, George, I'm Lonely, Hi Lonely, I'm Dad, Cat Feathers, Klaus, Milo V3, Moku, Mozart D Minor, Nick, Other Guy, Perry, Foog, Polkadot Hubris, Puppeteer, Riafio, Shexar, Starfish, Terran, The Nowhere King, This Is Hype, Thomas, Tom, Verhex, and Vortex. And hopefully I caught all those folks who always kind of skip forward in the video. Gotcha. Maybe, I don't know. Nobody skips forward past our patrons, do you? You wouldn't do that, would you? Anyways, yes. And so we have the Herald coming forth, who we know as a Grigori. So he's a little bit more than just a Goche, in his Herald guise, and kind of looks you up and down, has heard this booming voice, which in my mind sounds like Legba, but it's a different character. Legba playing a different character, right? So there's a little bit different tone, some voice actor aspect to it, and kind of looks and
leaning on his skill and expression.
Yep. And says, what? And like you can see that you have like thrown him off his game, because he is definitely similar to Sir Lucian, putting on this guise and acting. He's not a Goche who belongs here, and he's kind of thrown for a second as the world shifts and becomes that more stylized, more amped up Arthur legend,
or fantastical.
That's a good term for it. And then kind of straightens his stance and nods and draws forth his mighty horn and blows a vuvuzela of welcome, and then turns and kind of leads you into the castle and up towards the keep. And I imagine a very Wizard of Oz-esque grayscale to color kind of thing that is happening here, in it becoming more fantastical, and things kind of tweaking and adjusting. And there are not kids playing with the pigs in a sty, but instead, are well dressed and groomed and are chasing each other with, the stick and hoop, though that's a little bit later anyways. But yeah, it's just like stuff changes, stuff adjusts, and it becomes a little less gritty. And you make your way up. The Herald doesn't address you. You definitely get some like nervous energy. The boss is going to be so mad kind of vibes from it. and make your way up to the castle, which, as you arrive, has pennants and banners unfurling, and the well, I was going to say the Grail, but I don't think that was Arthur's symbol. But the appropriate King Arthur symbol, Sword of the Stone, and no, it's not Excalibur in the stone. Stop that. And march into the court, which is it still has that susurrus sound, but the tone is stepped up a notch. It's less quiet whispers of courtiers and more of jubilant enjoyment. There's happy conversation. There's little peals of laughter. Both like the soft ladylike titters of delight, and then big belly laughs, and like there's more. This is the like happy kingdom of Camelot that one would expect. Up on the throne, Arthur sits, Guinevere at his side, and Lancelot is on Arthur's side, away from Guinevere, and the two of them aren't even looking at each other. Why would they ever look at each other? And it's just like that, just a little tweak of like, we all know Mort Arthur's, it's down the way, but we aren't there. We are here in the high spirits of Camelot. And Arthur sees you and rises, both arms out. Merlin, my friend! And he comes down from his throne to greet you, pulls you into a big hug. He's got a breastplate on, pulls you in tight, and then walks with you arm in arm up to the throne. And he sits and kind of motions for you to stand there on like the step or two below, and says, tell me, what is this journey that you have been on? It cannot have been 100 years. I have barely aged a day.
Merlin or Legba says, perhaps, my liege, but he would say, even a day's passing without your grace and good humor feels like an eon for one such as I.
And he smiled, I think he makes some comment of your cunning wit, or, just leaning into the not quite jester Merlin, but, like this is not Merlin who comes with, bad tidings, but who is a wonder to have at court, kind of thing. And he says, very well, very well. Enough of your flattery. What news do you bring?
Merlin, or Legba, strokes the beard. He strokes it and throws it over his shoulder. And he says, when I was last here, we spoke of threats of war, challenges to the kingdom, danger afoot. And the Castellan was in dire need of, or rather, you, my liege, duly informed the Castellan of his urgent responsibilities to secure the realm. I come now on the heels of a reinforcement of that need, yet also perhaps an opportunity for the realm to grow and evade a coming doom. My spirits are high because, as you may well know, when I walk the twisted paths and find roots through the darkness, I see the light beyond. It lifts my spirits. I wish to lift your spirits as well.
I think he says, very good. And then, since you have returned and wish to lift our spirits, let us hold a feast this night. And sets about, and I think actually leans to Guinevere, right? And Guinevere is like, oh, yes, I will see to all the arrangements. We will, have jesters and, other storytellers. So Merlin can rest his wagging tongue for a night, and, there's this, playful thing, because that is the energy I feel like Legba is bringing in here forcefully and being like, no. You guys had this. This is the the vibe that I'm bringing in here.
Yeah.
So immediately, like previously, this was like a big war time keep, right? And now there's just that subtle little shift, and now like this main court throne room, that's the word, remains, but now there's more space off of the keep, and now there's this grand hall, and the perspective just shifts just because now this keep is a feast hall, right? Now there's this, and the courtiers just now are in their seats, and like food is already there, people are already eating, we are just in the feast. And the conversation volume kind of comes down, but you have fools cavorting through the main thing, the main aisle there in front of the king's table. You were sitting at the king's table, and there is an empty seat that belongs to the Castellan, who I guess would probably be to your right if you were at Arthur's right hand, and is currently empty. But you see him, as you, I would imagine, probably sit and enjoy and talk with Arthur. But let's be real, you're not here to talk to Arthur. And arriving late to the feast, he's got his empty plate, comes the Castellan, and his attire is still drab. Like there's some more color to it, but the style hasn't changed. His is far more a realistic reenactor's attire versus the more, we'll say, frivolous attire that others have. He doesn't have puffy sleeves or any of that. And comes marching up along the side to and sees you. And for most of the time when you have seen Sir Lucian, it's definitely been a little bit of arrogance, a little bit of self-control, a little bit of cockiness, and like occasionally you've had him where he's been sincere. Now you've got him pissed.
Fantastic.
And he's and just like remember, you can see like words stop, come back. He's like, Merlin, how nice to see you. And like he's like, I cannot ruin the role I have here. I have to get control of this again, right? And then sits down and like turns his chair to not, he's got like that 45-degree, he's definitely sitting facing you, and as servants bring food, he kind of waves them off, and just leans in, and it's very it's not a courtly, gentlemanly, posture, but more of intrigue and mystery that leaned in. What are you doing?
Fantastic. Before I respond to that, can
feel free to tweak.
Add one thing, which is while the festivities were getting set up and Merlin was just waiting around, Legba wanted to create a couple of barks. He doesn't have his coven with him here to go snooping around.
Sure.
And he wants to test and see if these barks are going to be more resilient. So he wants to send out barks that function like little puppies, looking for a few things. The map that we looked at once, he wants to get eyes on the map.
Oh, okay.
See if there's a way to find that map. It's possible it's not there, right? He doesn't know. He hasn't been to Camelot in a while.
Yep.
So he's going to make 3 barks and just send them out.
With a particular command of, in my head, I'm imagining this being, I look at one and say, you find this map, you do this, you do that. What are we looking for, you think?
Yeah. The first one is a map. That map again. The second is any records. And the reason why he's trying to make it simple for the bark is Legba suspects that the solution could just keep all of the important information in his head. That he's not just going to have everything there. However, for the sake of this whole pageantry, it's possible that there are things there, just like the map is, but there is some reflection of what's happening here. And so in the same way that last time they were there, the weapons were constantly shipped out, and he saw that the realm hadn't changed very much until he encouraged it to change, until he induced that change with his arrival. He would like to see if there's some evidence about what's happening, some record of arms being shipped this way and that, even if it's trivial, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some leaving, a stockpile, whatever it is, just hints, clues, things to follow up on later. And of course, anything that's going to allow him to feel like he has an even minor conversational leverage over solution in this present moment, because he has a lot of outside of the context of Camelot. But if he knows something that solution wouldn't want him to know, just by sending out a few little puppies to look around, it would be useful.
Gotcha. Okay. And do we have a secret third thing, or?
Yeah. So the secret third thing would be if there's a space that smells like the Castellan, like if he stays here a lot, like if there's a place he likes going rather than coming back. Like, some people, like if they have a treehouse, right, they got a little corner. They don't tell anybody, a secret corner. He's just going to, see, is the Castellan going to one part of Camelot more frequently? Does it smell like him more? Gotcha. And that's all, of course, Legba's telling the Bark, and Legba thinks of it in the sense of, him leaving elements of his own resonance or whatever there, especially being an archmage, and the coyotes calling him a dog, and accepting through his understanding of spirit that all beings of spirit and of mind, when they are in a realm that they can visit, have some resonance in the lowercase r, not necessarily a resonance, right? Like a labeled resonance, like in the prime sense. But there's some element, a scent, and an aspect of their essence and who they are that can leave traces, doesn't always, but can. And so, considering he's interacted with solution enough, he's not going to say look for his nimbus, but he's going to say look for the smell. You saw on the Bark. Look for the smell. See if you find a smell of this guy.
I like it. Okay, I got it. Now, when we talk about barks, are we actually imagining the invisible ones, or are we like, no, we're letting loose some 3 dog Goetia?
It would be stunting if he did that, because then solution couldn't do anything about them. Maybe his dogs, but he doesn't want to play his hand yet. So I think what he would like to do is he'd like to create them where they have bodies that are currently invisible, and he can then reveal them if necessary.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, the sound
calling them
ones
back.
Effectively.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes, the sound ones, and he might indeed pull them back to his hand at some point.
Okay. So yes, they disappear often. Yes, as the festivities get started, which do happen very quickly because it's the astral, and it's just like, yes, this is where we are. But yeah, in the intervening time where before the Castellan arrives, yes, the map still remains in the chart room or whatever you have it. There is a Castellan's office that is locked, and it has a great big padlock, and the I do think that your second Bark does know and has that scent of the records, but they are in the Castellan's office.
Cool. Okay, great. That helps.
Yep.
Because if there's something like that is in his office, it must be intentional. From Legba's perspective, right, would be that these are elements that would just be consistent with the castle. And if there's a distinct residue of these things happening, then it isn't just the superficial goetic representation of transport.
Correct.
And if they're in it, right? Does that make sense? So that's what Leg was thinking about it, right? He doesn't know it's there, but if it was just superficial, there wouldn't be anything. There would be no money. There would be no paper records. It's in the Temenos, but there wouldn't be a detailed record of all that stuff. And then in his office, if there's a lock on it, as opposed to it just being the representation of it, it means that he's trying to keep Goetia out.
Yep.
So, because they're not going to go in there otherwise, right?
Correct. Yeah,
that's not their job. That's not their role.
Not secretaries. The wait staff and the servants. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. Aren't going to go in there. And yes, and specifically, the office is a thing from before that you would have found, but you decided to just chase the guy. So no, love it. So yes, yes, very, very quick to discover those things.
Cool, fantastic. Then we'll deal with that later. So in response to the Castellan leaning in and saying, "What are you doing?" Legba says, he does not whisper back. He says out loud, he says, bringing good tidings and an opportunity for increased wealth in the realm. Isn't that your main interest, Castellan?
My interest is in the protection and guarding of the realm and the proper running of this castle. I'm no mere steward interested in gold and trying to, downplay your...
Fair enough. Yeah. Legba shrugs, and his shoulders go up higher than they should be able to. Right. So in this kind of fantastical, absurd version of the gesture, right? It looks like Merlin's the edges of his clavicles and his humerus, right? His shoulder joint is somehow more pointed and angular, and it can joint and rise more just to accentuate the gesture. And he says, "What do I know of such mundane matters?" He says, "I speak of the things that yes, this is what he says. He says, as you know, my interest is higher than that. I have a higher calling. And I believe that the realm will rise as high as the limits of your own imagination."
It's like, well, I can imagine quite a lot. I do imagine quite a lot and know quite a lot. And like, I think he goes so far as to say, and I even know what you have been doing on your 100-year journey.
Ah, do tell, Castellan. And then Merlin claps his hands with an elaborate fluttering of his robe, and he calls over. Who does he call? He motions to one of the servants for a flagon, just for the gesture, and he says, "The Castellan has so kindly offered to regale us with an anticipatory recount of that which I aim to share, for perhaps the sake of our enjoyment and a demonstration of his shrewd wit."
Oh, this is so good. And he's like, the look on his face is like, okay, I know these people are not people. I know these Goche are not real.
That's right.
But I'm like, but I have to. Like both because he has this role, but also to prove to you and also try and kind of depose you from this kind of control you've got. And so he stands up and like, as you take your flagon to drink and enjoy this story, he stands back and like motions at his empty plate and empty glass, goblet, and says, "I have not, partaken of drink. I come with, poor tidings that our Merlin has been consulting and cavorting with devils and demons in his quest for more power. He's been, and who would? I'm going to name drop Mordred here, even though it's probably not appropriate. And I think I think Sir Lucian
would have too.
Sure, I think Sir Lucian would have a better one, but off the top of my head, and like is making deals and speaking with Mordred, and not Mab, Morgan Le Fay.
Oh yes,
and making deals with other practitioners and sorcerers, with ill intent. Might be that he thinks the best of Camelot and of our king and queen, but his methods are, I think he just goes with it, Trish, diabolical.
Hmm.
And so now he comes to spin this tale of travel and discovery to, with honeyed words to turn our king towards a destructive path.
Like what claps. And he says, we are blessed with a oh no, yeah, he says no, this is what he actually says. He says, Castellan, I am duly impressed. I wonder if by chance your tongue is more silver than my own. And then he strokes his beard and flicks it to the other side. And he says, he goes all the way along it, right? Pulls it up, flips it over, and he says, it is often that those who work their will are described as being wicked. I would have you know, I do not traffic in dark thoughts, nor does my tongue ever waggle in the ear of a dark one. I crave something other than that. And I am, and then he, says to Arthur, he says, as you know, my liege, I am only ever a bearer of wisdom. I have only ever been in a position of advice and counsel. No control, no exertion directly of my will. No, and then he raises an eyebrow. No direct management of the arms of a realm for whatever purpose that perhaps a king might not directly know. I have been on a grand quest. I've been on a quest in search of freedom, quest in search of truth, and a quest in search of peace. I believe that, as you are implying, sometimes peace comes at the point of a sword, but it needn't. Peace can come, as you know so well, my liege, as you have demonstrated to many of your adversaries, that peace can also come with a full belly, with a healthy swallow from a flagon of great ale, or honeyed wine. He looks over at Guinevere. I have grown in my knowledge. I have grown in my wisdom. And I rebuke your suggestions that I am somehow trafficking in dark powers for the purpose of bringing ill tidings to the realm to sink it into the ground. Let it be known, Castellan, you and I have often been at odds. Perhaps because you believe that your responsibility to maintain the integrity of this realm necessarily requires fewer perturbations, unexpected changes. I will say this. All that you manage in heaven and earth are threatened more by your desires to keep things as easy and routine than your suspicions of my own actions ever could be. And then he stands up and he says, Realm, Camelot is one kingdom among many, perhaps the greatest of the kingdoms. But the world is at threat because there is something that aims to undo all the pomp and circumstance that we invite in on feast days. There is an ill wind blowing from the east that will make it so that no cook fires stir again on a cold night. That even if people hear screeches of mighty dragons flying high above, they will be too occupied with dealing with the rats nipping at their toes. I come to prevent this calamity, and I believe that the Castellan and I can do so together. However, I suspect that he still harbors resentment and suspicion of me, despite the fondness and the joyousness that I offer on such a potentially challenging occasion.
I think Sir Lucian is kind of taken aback because he was definitely expecting more of a confrontation, right? And now it's like, well, hang on, team up, and like that just absolutely throws him, just because he's ready to block this, and all of a sudden it's like, here, the bouquet of flowers. No, wait, what? Or actually, olive branch would be more appropriate. And so he kind of like, withdraws and leans back a little bit, and perhaps we should speak in private.
Merlin puts on a Cheshire grin, and then he says, I would welcome an audience with you, considering your busy responsibilities. I say, first, let us enjoy this incredible feast that our liege has offered, and perhaps, in some part, my honor, but also offered to the glory of the realm and all its inhabitants. And when all have gone, no, he says, yes, he says, when all the flowers have wilted, and only those night blooming are left, we can have a brief chat.
I like that. And as is the way of the astral, you like he turns, and you guys sit in companionable silence as you eat, air quote. But we have that fast forward of mealtime, people moving through, the tables being drawn back, there's dancing. And in my head, like, the movie shot is all this stuff is happening. The whole feast is happening, and the two of you are just sitting, maybe, taking a drink in, like, as the world, the astral realm, just kind of moves by you. And there is, some definite, like, entertainment that, you can enjoy. You're watching a feast happen in fast motion, so you're watching capering and dancing, but there is this, like, solidity of the two of you as the world, the astral realm around you kind of swirls, that really only the two of you are real. Well, I will actually say that the herald, and this time, now that you're knowing to look for him, it is much easier to see, because he's standing to the side, much like the knights and guards are and stuff like that. But while they, make the quick little jitter motion, of men standing, he is, standing, without the effect of the speed up. And then suddenly the sun sets, the tables are clear, and it is the two of you sitting, just quietly, with, just lights, torches, flickering, and the herald taking a little look about, and then waving to the two of you, and steps out from the room, and the two of you are left in this great empty feast hall.
Great setting for this kind of conversation.
What are you doing to the machine?
What am I doing to the machine? No, he of course, in that annoying way, says, what am I doing to the machine? I believe you could tell me better than I could tell you.
You are doing nothing. All your little ploys, from the plantation to the destruction, the kidnapping of more workers, is just a minor delay. You're not causing any damage. The machine by itself could handle everything that you have done. What is your purpose here?
As in point of fact, you seem quite perturbed by our actions. And as you know, those building a machine sometimes more important than the machine until it gets to work by itself. So, although my direct goals are honestly not concerned with causing you to have a bad day, the fact that that is an obvious consequence is something noteworthy and something you seem to be preoccupied with.
Like there's a big dramatic roll of his eyes, and he kind of shifts in the chair and kind of leans back and says, "You disrupt the plantation, you steal workers, you disrupt an imperial spell, taking away what is ours.
Did we do that?
Did you let other
Perhaps your
mages?"
spell wasn't. No, he says, perhaps your spell lacked the integrity you suspected it did.
I didn't lack. I did not have concern about the integrity of the spell. I had concerns about the agents sent to collect it. They are, well,
I,
actually, one is dead, and the other. Actually, would he know? No, because Abaddon probably doesn't have any of the sympathetic connections anymore, because they were connected to Abaddon, not
mhm.
the guy who was a mage. So yeah, he's probably off grid. Yeah, so whatever has happened to my agents happened in your town. So yes, whether you were on hand directly or allowed something to happen, yes, I believe you and your coven were involved in some way.
He shrugs again and he says, I'm not one to deny responsibility. I'm merely pointing out that these are suppositions. I will remind you that you sent agents to a place they were not welcome, and anything happening to them as a consequence of their actions is their fault as well as the fault of those who sent them there. So, if you feel upset by that, I am not responsible. Once again, it seems that you're doing a lot of things that put you ill at ease. And that's just one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. Getting to the matter at hand, you seem flustered. This machine is important to you. And yes, I know we all have obsessions and things we want to do, and people get in the way of it. Whether it happened to be some giant construct that has some arcane purpose that might be unknown to anybody else who sees it, or a realm such as this where you're playing with things you consider to be dolls, but whose sanctity as dolls you respect so much that you must treat them as people, and simultaneously disagree with the person who insists on treating them as people from first principles. I don't know. You are a confusing mix of different traits, all crammed together into what seems like one fastidious attempt to keep order.
He nods and he's like, "There it is. Order. That is what the machine will do."
Hmm. Hmm. I believe there already is a kind of order. What do you know of order? Is it just what you've been told? Did you come to an appreciation of it? Was it your dreams? Were you visited by something more powerful than you who constantly told you for, well, subjective eons that their perspective on order is the only right one, and that if you try to do anything else, you're merely going to fail. So it's easier for you if you just give up and go along with the plan.
I love the like psychotherapy aspect of it. Let's
Yes.
talk about how do you feel about your mother? Yeah, but Sir Lucian kind of, like there's a smirk. He's like, "No, it took me some time to come to the Seers. There was a time where I did as I wanted. and I saw the consequences of my actions. I saw what other mages did. And I realized that there are some people, and like there's an up-down look at you, who should not have power, that will use it for frivolous games. And he holds his hand up and like motions out at this, and like he's like, I know, but and make the earth dance to their whim. And I think there is because I am failing to find the point. The thing the problem he has with you is that you are a mastigos. Right. And so he makes some comment about playing with people's minds.
Cool.
And and so there are those who cannot be trusted with the powers that we have. And the less there are of them, then only truly gifted will awaken. Only those who are chosen will awaken. And I see fit to make that happen.
I seem to know of. Forgive me if this is something that hits a little too close to home. But there's an extant empire. Believed that it also knew what order was. And thought that its navy was too powerful to be resisted by those it looked down upon. Suffered a surprise as a consequence. You're entitled to however misinformed your perspective is on the nature of those who follow my path. And I am not here to try and educate you on the silliness of lesser thought, uninspired, stereotype. No, you wouldn't say stereotype. Uninspired, limited perspectives on other will workers from the standpoint of someone who believes that they work their will in the most ideal way possible and therefore are deserving of its gifts compared to others. Everyone's capable of seeking Sophia and walking with her hand in hand. And that is the only objective criterion for whether or not we are working our will in the way we are supposed to. In fact, it is one that supersedes, he says exceeds, and supersedes, despite their insistence that it doesn't, that which your masters would tell you. There's only one way of determining if somebody is making good choices, and that is if they are wise.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. He would know enough. He's like, this sounds like. It sounds like coward talk. You are afraid to use your power, and I despise you for the ways that you can use your powers.
As he's talking, he says, have you ever killed a man?
Yes.
Have you ever strangled him as he cried to you? Have you ever tasted his blood? Have you ever gouged somebody's eyes out? Have you ever killed their family? Have you ever hunted someone down who spited you years before and made sure that they and all the people around them suffered?
I think
there's bare hands. He stops, but he just insists. After a brief pause, he says, to emphasize, he says, with your bare hands.
There is this bit where he's grinning. It's like, of course he's killed somebody. And then you continue, and he's like, he's more amused, like you're trying to get a rise out of him. You're Mastigos after all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then he realizes, and there's that tone, and I imagine there is the sorrow that Legba has in it, where all of a sudden he realizes that this is not I'm baiting a reaction out of you, but no, I am telling you where I come from.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then he kind of shifts and kind of like there's this new appreciation of you because like,
Mm-hmm.
as a mage, you don't do that kind of thing
Yep.
unless you have to or
Yep.
want to, right?
Yep.
And
Exactly.
and he's kind
And in
of
fact, it's primarily the latter.
right. And so he kind of leans back and says, "Yes, I have killed, and not to that degree, but I have had blood on my hands, and it has been a physical struggle. I can't say that I've choked a man out with my bare hands, but I have. Why?"
You consider cowardice the choice not to exert your will every place you can. The truth is, cowardice is actually exerting your will when you do not have to. And you believe, no, it is the failure to recognize that you always have a choice, and it does not prevent you from suffering in the future if you make someone else or you make the world suffer in the present. So, you're welcome to think about me however you like, but you have insufficient information to understand who I am or what my goals are. And then he leans back and he says, as I've come to recognize, whether you're fighting with, no, first he says, when you're trying to reach an agreement with somebody for whatever purpose, or, and then that tone comes back before, and he makes it a little more gritty. He says, or whether you're fighting tooth and nail to see who survives. The best outcome for everyone involved is always a consequence of as much knowledge available as possible. I don't understand what your motivations are, to be honest. You seem like a caricature, much like the puppets you've created here for your own amusement. And you don't seem that special compared to many of your brethren that I've met. To be fair, I don't know much about you. I know you primarily here. And so you could be entirely different from the role you play and the version of yourself you present to me. I recognize my own ignorance in that matter. However, with that said, the information I do have available does not strike me, does not make me strike, sorry, does not lead me to believe that you are in any way noteworthy, special, unique, or important in the way that you wish to be, the order you wish to establish. I think it impossible that you believe yourself one who is not a coward, yet, for some reason, you choose to live your life as though you're one simple cog in a great machine, and that the choices you might make to avoid being that cog are completely purposeless.
I think you misunderstand my purpose. You have said you don't understand my purpose. My goal is to ensure that only those who follow a right and holy path make their way to the supernal.
Hmm.
I will bury the rest of the world in muck and dirt, and they will not even notice that they are missing anything. They will continue on, many of them with happy lives, not disrupted by the things that lie behind the veil, except those whom the Father deems worthy. And I am no mere cog in a machine. I am a slave to my duty and my work. And I did come here to relax and lose myself in another place and time where things were right. kings ruled, knights slayed dragons, the peasants worked and didn't worry themselves about greater matters or the magical. You probably realize, like,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
there wasn't a Merlin until you showed up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He says, for the record, I can take any guise I like. If it would make you more comfortable, that somehow. And he wipes a hand over his face so that his face appears to be French and pale French.
Mm-hmm.
He says, if it would make you more comfortable, he does that for a bit. And then he says, oh, who am I kidding? I wouldn't do that. That's a lie. And I wouldn't lie to you. Getting to the serious point. I think you're misguided. I don't think that perhaps you're confused about what you think is true, but I think you just don't know that what you think is true lacks enough information to justify it. I will give you the benefit of the doubt as a human, another human being to another, one who has struggled in ways you have not, that in ways that you likely have that I haven't and I am unaware of. That you've reached a conclusion you think is valid based on all the reason available to you and all the information that's currently available to you. And I'm telling you with a tremendous degree of earnestness that you have been sorely misled. And so, as I said, prefer information to be as equal as possible in order to lead to better outcomes and interactions. And our continued detente or interaction serves our joint purposes, or no, he says our respective purposes at this point. So I have no reason to stop it. However, I wish for it to change in a way, and this is what I mean to say. You invoke the Father at all times. Well, as you know, in a certain book, humanity was betrayed by the whisperings of a snake.
A serpent, yes.
I'm talking to you, so I'm telling this to you, knowing that it'll get to all the others, if you so choose to share my words with them. Right? I wouldn't say anything to you that I was worried I did not want them to hear, and I wouldn't attempt to enter into some kind of secret relationship with you. That's not the point. But we'll see if you say this to them. There may be a way for you to experience the satisfaction you want without participating in what is certainly going a doomed enterprise and continuing to be subject to the whims and edicts of the most oppressive entities in the history of the universe. So he says, you can repent. You can, and he actually says, you can find Jesus Christ again. You can find a way to a life of humble service to the rest of humanity, and one in which you can stop trying to prevent others from taking flight the way you have out of your misplaced concern that some will abuse those wings. So it's not going to work. You can use whatever means at your disposal to evaluate the truth of what I'm saying. And I don't say things like that lightly. I came in this garb as a way of trying to make it more palatable to you, that the implication from Merlin's arrival from a long journey would suggest to you that perhaps I am no mere magician and that I have walked a long road, one that would be nearly impossible for you to walk. And if you wish it, you can take heed my words and choose to stop opposing us. I'm not telling you that you should specifically do anything to your counterparts. I am just telling you, Sir Lucian, right now, that if you continue in trafficking with these serpents, you and all of the rest will have their heads summarily removed when our task is finished.
I think he leans in because there's this. I think you say that it's not going to work. Is it not going to work because you're going to do something to it? Because you believe it can't work? Why are you so sure of yourself?
The first time I killed someone, I was 11 years old. He was nearly as tall of a man. Or sorry, no, he was nearly the height of a grown man. He hurt me. He thought it was nothing. I'm telling you it's not going to work. Because I'm telling you that there's no way. There is absolutely no way that you and all of the others you work with want it to succeed as much as I know, and I want it to fail.
I see. So you're going to do something to it.
No. It will be undone. I'm not promising you that I will do something. I'm saying, as you know, that our wants and desires influence the world in untold ways. The thing that people don't appreciate about those in my path is that our path is not about devils. It is not about abuse. It is about confronting the demons that we all have inside of ourselves. It is about accepting that when we do that, when we experience the adversity, seeing the truly sad, the truly horrid, the truly scary things that are incorporated into our corpus, seeing ourselves as some amalgamation of demons, pandemonium, that we achieve a certain kind of freedom, that we are all connected. My conversations with you influence you in ways that you cannot possibly foresee right now. And my conversations with everybody else in the world influence them in ways that you cannot possibly foresee. I am not promising you that I will do anything specific to your beloved creation. What I am telling you is that I'm a wise and noble man in creation. He says that in high speech. It says creation, capital C. And that even one additional wise and noble man walking the earth makes it a more holy place, makes it a more vital place. And a task like this, a machine like this, cannot possibly succeed when they're wise and noble people.
Kind of leans back. I think he keeps leaning back. He keeps leaning back all the time. Eventually he's going to fall out of his chair.
But it's the greatest of Temenos.
Yeah.
You get the ideal chair that allows you to lean as much as you want, but it doesn't fall.
Well, I keep thinking more of that he is leaning in and listening and then kind of leaning back. But yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
But I just realized that I keep starting every phrase with he leans back. And he looks looks at you and he's like, so you really believe that?
He says, I know what I believe, which is, no, he says, this is what I believe. I was once a man who believed in only one kind of order. And then I learned of a different kind of order. And then another kind of order. And another. In the course of all of my days, there's one, and he smiles and he says, one connected chain of meaning. Which is that? The imposition of order must be maintained. The world, no, he says the universe beckons too much chaos for order to remain sacrosanct without some reinforcement. It is like a snake eating its own tail. Once it starts, it's only going to end in one way. A machine to create the order you desire will eliminate everything. There will be none that deserve it. There will be none who are granted it. There will be none ever again who have the power you believe they should. And that is a future that will not happen. Will not.
You have looked at the machine and what it does, but you haven't seen the controls. Like he has this like epiphany, this realization of like, oh, okay, I get it. You have half the picture. And it's like, you are afraid of it, not for what it can do, but what you think it will do. You think that it's going to end all awakenings. You think it's going to take the life out of the world.
I know that any machine, and I know this, that any machine that has functions anywhere near that could only exist, and the Cheshire Grin comes up, can only exist in a timeline other than this one.
I'm sorry, Merlin. I thought there was going to be some middle ground that we can find. Some way that you would join us or understand my purpose. But you are just afraid.
I feel fear no longer. Caution is not fear. The last time I felt fear, I was 11 years old.
Caution, then.
I have not felt fear one day in my life since.
If you had the device, if you sat at its controls, would you not do what we plan to do? Would you not restrict who awakens to those who are worthy in your eyes?
I'm a mere man. I am not one to judge. I am not God. I am not Bonji. Although Legba is the intermediary. I am not Bondier himself. I say this to you. It is hubris to believe that somehow an individual can make the choice who deserves. It is the truth that were everyone to awaken, many problems would disappear. Your masters wished otherwise. They wished to preserve their power and restrict in one way. And I believe they are lazy. They don't want to do as much. I'll tell you this. He kind of leans on the table and he says, I've seen what happens when people have tools. And then he says, do you understand why we were enslaved? Why you enslaved us?
It's like, he straight up says it. I've never had a slave.
You get everything you've eaten, all your clothing, the riches of your country, as a consequence of that which you've earned. No, that's what you've taken from the bleeding backs of the people you brutalized. The point of this conversation isn't to make you feel guilty about the legacies of your colonial empire. It is merely to remind you that people enslave others because they're lazy. It is because they don't want to till the earth with their own hands. It is because that they rebuke the expectations of the Lord to earn an honest day's living, to work with others, to be humble. Your masters are exactly that. You are a slave to them. You have willingly chained yourself, shackled yourself to masters, and believe that somehow a great order will be imposed when you follow their will to establish a means to restrict who can become a willing slave instead of an unwilling slave. Tell you something there. Some say that you're only a slave in your own mind. Take it from me, a mastigos who understands a bit about slavery. It's not that simple. Even if you're not a slave in your mind, you are in the flesh or in some other way. There'll be a torturous existence. So, what I'm trying to tell you is this. You think I'm ignorant because I don't have all the information you have. That's right, I don't have all the information, but I do a lot of thinking. I'm a very thoughtful man. I like to think. Some say I think too much. Say what I should be doing is. I know this is what he says. This is what he actually says. He says, I'm often thinking two thoughts at once. He says, what I've learned is you can often answer your own questions before you ask them. And you suspect that because I haven't directly seen the controls, this is what you suspect. That one, I have not seen the controls. That two, that because I haven't seen the controls, that I misunderstand the value of it. And then you pose to me, what choice would I make if I was the one to determine who deserved an awakening? Everybody awakens. That's the obvious choice. That's the only choice. Anyone who thinks otherwise is unwise.
So you don't even put stock with what the silver ladder preaches. You're at war with both of us.
War? You're only at war if you believe that there's a contest that should be decided in blood. And you can't go to war with those who are constantly shadowboxing. I am at war with no one other than the abyss. But don't take that literally. All I mean is that we are. No, he didn't say. He says, I do not belong to any of the orders of the diamond. And yes, I'm aware that they traffic in the same horrid, oppressive things that your group is so keen on maintaining. But no, I would not. I would not restrict one single individual. And he says, and he leans in, he says, even if it were you.
I think he makes a little like half bow in the chair. He's like, "Oh, thank you."
Yeah.
And let's see here. Where's my? Otherwise, we're going to get into the Merlin and Sir Lucian just banter back and forth for hours, which I'm sure folks at home are enjoying. I hope. But and so he kind of
a good time.
Yeah, it's very fun. And I think he kind of I think he basically says that he doesn't. Yeah, I don't want to fight you. I don't even want to fight the Diamond Order. But I do want to protect this realm. I want to protect this world from those who have power and use it. How does he say? I think he even borrows your word, unwisely. So we will use the machine. And we will restrict. Yeah, we will restrict those who will awaken to the wrong path. We will remove the degenerates, the depraved, those with murderous intentions or cruel thoughts in their hearts. We will stop the worst from awakening and only elevate the highest. And then we can turn this world into a paradise that matches the supernal.
Such a pleasant, incomplete notion. Please know in your heart that I have. This is not a warning. The warning suggests that, despite what I said earlier, it isn't primarily a warning. I have informed you. I have given you information. And if you are to think on it, truly think on it, and you can reach a conclusion, that might aid you in the coming days. You won't succeed. As a matter of fact, I'm telling you. And so, in the same way you have offered or hoped, and I don't know if I feel flattered or more intrigued. At least tells me that you're consistent in your behavior, then that's something I can respect. In that you questioned whether or not I would join you in your quest. I'm glad, for your sake, that you don't wish to fight us. No boasting. hope, for your sake, and for the goals you have in the future, that you remember this conversation, that you have a choice in the coming days. I know that if you were to leave the den of serpents, they would likely not be a pleasant departure. However, we always have a choice. If you wish to remain shackled to this idea and to your masters, and to your fellow willing, brutal slaves, you will likely suffer for it. And because my goals are radically different than yours, I feel it behooves me to attempt to prevent any soul from facing such a terrible fate.
Very well. You are being so magnanimous to offer this olive branch. I cannot, in good faith, turn it away and ignore you. But I will say that the only... What would he say? Yeah, I think his pride probably gets the best of him. He says, "No, how would he say this? Yeah, I think I'm going to put it more bluntly than he would, but
Mhm.
I don't have to worry about the other snakes, the other serpents, because when this is all done, there will be just one. And I will hold the key, and I will turn the machine to my purposes and the Father's purposes as a loyal servant of the Father. You will not turn me, and I will not turn from my path. I have marked the Father on my soul and given myself to him, and I am humble in that duty." And like he says with a smirk,
Mhm.
there will come a time where I do remember this conversation, and I hope on that day that you are ready to bend the knee and serve, because destroying you would be a waste, I think.
He makes this great show of heartfelt emotion and says, I am, and forevermore will be a child of broken chains, only connected to the links that lead us higher. Fair enough. I suppose it is time for us to take our leave. He says, there's something I wanted to say, not as a retort, but I wanted to add on to that. He said, oh, he says, this. Then, perhaps, although I don't hold them in any sort of regard, they would benefit your fellows, which are so you believe below you, worthy of disdain. You would do well, or no, he would say they would do well to hear from you that if any of you attempt to transgress any of the boundaries I have established in our territory, or directly confront us, that there will be a swift reprisal in the manner that is called for and expected by. Oh, he puts this in a simple way. He says, by those who belong to organized orders. If you have if at this point, he says at this point, If at this point you do not know, do not understand that Legba is the guardian of the crossroads, everyone should perhaps try to appreciate that a bit more.
No, I think unfortunately, actually, I think he says, well, if you're so concerned about us crossing the threshold into your town, then you will return our property, and we will not have to transgress.
What property is that?
The entity that you pulled from, I can't remember her name, but yes, the the nun's body.
Pulled from the nun's body? I did no such thing.
No, and as a man of truth, I suspect that you mean that very literally, and perhaps you even are including your coven mates, but something happened to it. It is no longer in the stars, and the nun is dead.
At the beginning of this conversation, Sir Lucian, I informed you that it's possible that the integrity of your spell was insufficient for the task.
So you are saying that this entity...
No, I'm saying think a bit. He raises his voice a little bit in a didactic way, or not didactic, in the pedagogical way. He says, he's not going to, do an invincible meme here, but he says, think a bit. If your spell did not, if you did not receive the end you expected from your spell, perhaps your spell was not designed in the way it should have been designed to accomplish the goal you wanted. Or there was another element required for the spell to succeed that did not fail. We did no such thing that you're accusing us of. What you planned did not work. That's it.
I think there's like this narrowing of his eyes, right? He's trying to get that read on you. And of course, it's in the astral. So everything, I mean, you've already been a caricature already of Merlin. And he's trying to get a read on you. And he's like, okay, then tell me this, Legba.
Yes.
The being is no longer in the stars. The being is not in the nun who is dead. Is the being running about within your town?
I don't think the being is running about in our town, but I also don't think the being can run about. I will also say you cannot own the supernal. So your claims to an entity that was a mystery in our territory are, by default, void. I'm answering these questions as a matter of respect, not because somehow they deserve an answer. You violated the threshold and our expectations and our prior agreement in order to set up a spell. That failed. You sent an agent to come and accomplish a task. That agent failed. And you don't know what happened. Think. There's an advantage sometimes when you're on our path, because my first inclination is to think.
I appreciate the Mastigos bird. It's like, stupid Orimos. Just use your brain, bro. And so he kind of leans back, and you can see he's thinking. And there are clearly like possibilities running in his head. And none of them are necessarily correct. But he kind of sits back and it looks at you and says, very well. Perhaps it is elsewhere. But if we determine that it is within Purgatory Bluff, we will come find it because it is ours.
If you come to Purgatory Bluff, you will die.
It's like, well, I guess that's...
If any of your agents come to Purgatory Bluff, they will die.
I guess that is something that we'll have to risk if we can't find it anywhere else. The world is a big place, though, so it may take us time to scour it. So if you do have it, you have time to move it.
I suggest you take your time.
He stands up. Picard maneuvers his shirt and says, very well.
Yep.
We will begin our search. And that gives you time to remove it from your town so that we can find it. Because if we search the whole world over and we do not find it, there is one little place on that map that we have not searched. I will come get it.
Abandoning decorum. To be fair, you can't think your way out of a hole in the ground. Or at least it so seems. So if you have failed to find it in your search of the world, it's probably because you did a bad job looking for it.
This has been a delight, Merlin. And then turns and just walks. I don't even think he maintains the show enough to even get to a door. He turns and starts walking away and just is gone.
Yeah. Leg was real happy with how that went.
Just keep looking for it, dude. It's got to be somewhere else.
You're saying the most parsimonious explanation is that somehow it got taken from the stars and is somewhere still in this town, this huge entity, as opposed to the fact that you just didn't find it. It must be here. Dad, I can't find my toy. You have it in your room, right? No, I do not. Do not. The house is much bigger than my room. Please look the house. I looked everywhere.
Meanwhile, it is in your room.
Yeah, I know, of course. I just mean, Legba, as a Mastigos, he's being like, you, Obrimos, are focusing on one idea. You've convinced yourself, and so you're unwilling to consider other possibilities. That's what this is about, bro. That's what this is about. I liked your dollhouse, so I was trying to give you a chance to think about another way to get what you want. Doesn't involve doing something that's going to fail. Listen, that was definitely a little bit more Papa Legba, leaning in the Legba with the paternalistic aspect. But he's like, look, this guy, hey, who knows? He was able to do something that led to Abaddon disappearing, but the human being sticking around. Who knows? Legba will do what he has to, but of course, another will worker. He doesn't want anyone to die, right? Especially not a will worker. So do what he can. That's the pot, and that's the path he's walking.
So the Castellan leaves, and I imagine you go rifle through all his things now.
Absolutely.
Cool. It is the castle is quiet. Just because I also know you have inward outward eye. The herald is nowhere to be seen.
Interesting.
Yeah. Very. I would probably say that in the other times that you have visited, the herald hasn't always been around, but he's always been until you realize he was a Grigori, he was a background character. You really didn't notice him. That was always his purpose, anyways. So, you make your way through the feast hall, follow the direction that one of the Barks had given you, and find the Castellan's office. The lock stands no chance against Merlin or, a Mastigos who could move through space and time. Well, through space. And on the inside is a narratively appropriate, storybook appropriate office and record keeping. And so you have piles of books and sheafs of paper, and it's just an organized mess, we'll say, right? And fortunately, once inside, bringing along your trusty Barks, one of them draws you to a ledger. Actually quite a few ledgers as you start to dig into this,
Oh, great. This is
to
so good.
squish down the easy investigation that probably takes like the astral subjective hour or so.
Makes sense.
Solution is the record keeper of the serpents. Um, and so what appears, especially using Mage Sight, this is all the accumulated goetic remains of discussions.
Oh,
If
great.
they ever discuss something, if they ever talk about something, if anything is ever said about the plantation or anything like that, it becomes a record here in this particular astral realm, tucked away and not where it would belong out in the Temenos. This is the
Amazing.
black bag CIA, we hide stuff operation.
Wow.
There's tons of stuff in here. It would take a long time to sift through it page by page. It is something where I mean the Jules secretary in his head
Yeah.
kind of situation, or a bunch of probably rank 2 Goetia or something like that that could potentially parse through it. And a lot of it is still similar to the plantation record, coded. So
Yeah.
while it could be translated by mind magic, it would still not have any context, right? But
Mhm.
any of that
Not
discussion,
yet. Right.
correct,
If you have all of the body of information, it makes it a lot easier
correct,
to decode.
yeah. But a lot of this is just like, and I think the thing that you probably find where you go, oh, is effectively within pages and pages of stuff a copy of the plantation records. So
Fantastic.
while
Yeah.
you guys had
Moving forward.
collected those and had them, this is the goetic representation of those things, and they are here rather than somewhere else in the Temenos as a piddly little scamp of a rank 0 Goetia that somebody else could find. That bit of
Yeah.
information is instead drawn here once you guys started discussing it, for instance. So yes, he has the records here, and the map that you had seen previously is probably, we would say, misplaced
Mm.
in amongst the actual maps. And there is signs that the Castellan doesn't really come in here to work. You've seen where he works. He's off in religion, off in faith, as opposed to here, which is basically a locked broom closet that nobody has any reason to ever enter into unless they're in the know about this specific realm, the role the Castellan is playing, and then decide to look through all this stuff. Short of absolutely destroying these things in, say, the abyss, where they would then reappear again, they have been moved here as a great big info dump of stuff. If you guys had found this earlier, this would be something that you would have given to the liberators.
Of course. Of course. Totally.
Amongst all of this stuff, though, similar to the map, which had locations of, I don't even think you had map details of what the locations were, just that they were important.
Yes. That's what we looked at.
Here you have stuff where if you had enough time, or like in the case of liberators, enough incentive, this is where you could potentially find all the plantations that they were working, or all the different sites that they were working, because you guys have disrupted one squad of workers, the 10 representative things. There's many, many more. And stopping them would be helpful, but as mentioned by Sir Lucian, the work will continue to happen. They will continue to do it. So it is one of those things that would probably be good to take out, but it is definitely, unfortunately, a lower priority than anchors and dealing with some of the other stuff.
Of course, that makes sense. First, Legba, I will honestly, out of character, say that Legba is impressed. This is the kind of thing he would think to do, and yeah, he for a moment is honestly impressed at the skill and the caution that solution
The
exhibited here.
paranoia.
Yeah, the paranoia, fair enough. But I mean, like, if you want to keep things neat, right? Thinking of, instead of trying to prevent them from getting created, just saying, why don't we have a central repository and make sure that the Goetia are stored here? That's a great idea, right? We're going to be chatting about this. We have to do something about it so nobody else finds out. What do? You can't just constantly kill Goetia that are being created in a Temenos. It's too hard, right? It's best if they just go in one place, and nobody else is going to Camelot.
I mean, if they poke in, they go, "Hey, it's Camelot. Oh, let's chat with King Arthur." Okay, great. Why are you going into the broom closet of the nondescript? Again, it's not Merlin's lab, right? It's not something. And that's where he gets into Sir Lucian's humility. Oh, yes, I'm just the Castellan. I'm not the king. I'm not Merlin. I'm just the Castellan.
Yep. It's great. Great approach. So what Legba does is he's going to cast a version of the spell he cast when he was in the factory in London.
To drag in all the info?
Yes, and because they're all Goetia, he believes the effect can be he believes he can have an even greater or more efficient effect. Let me say it differently. He thinks it's going to be easier for him to do this because these are all Goetia. So he's casting a spell in the Goetia. And of course, he's going to be using Prime as well. It's going to be a conjunctional spell, likely space. But the thing is, he's in the astral realms. So because he's in the astral, it is all a matter of mind. It shouldn't be that hard for him in order to gain some facsimile of all these things, a copy of every Goetia that. Let me stop. I'm stumbling over words for some reason. Every Goetia that exists here, all the Goetia that exists here, a copy of it. And of course, his purpose is going to be, he's going to bring it back to the Coven and Jules. And he's going to say, we're all going to meet at one point. I'm going to create some Goetia to help us. And we're going to go through this stuff. Okay. We're going to be inside of some facsimile of it, maybe in my own mind or in some version I pulled out in the caverns of Neakis. And then there are going to be some assistant Goetia who are going to be pulling out things that are potentially interesting based on our criteria, giving it to us, and then we're going to talk about that and figure out what might be useful for this. We're going to spend a day, a week, and whatever it is, but that's what he intends to do. So
okay, I dig it. Yeah, I think I like the idea of a snapshot and being able to create the Goetia themselves and stuff. In this form, they're just rank 0 papers, but you could do simply a rank 0 person that you could talk to, or some similar thing that might even further potentially help. Though actually, they'll probably have to be paper, because I don't think that a rank 1 or a person who is just a chunk of knowledge would be very useful. A person who exists to give, just to list out dates and numbers, is not that much more useful than just a piece of paper. I like that idea, and just gathering that all up and storing that away with honestly a cranked up perfect recall or similar. So okay, I dig that. That's totally fine. The other answer is okay, I grab armfuls of stuff and off to my own Neuros I go, which effectively what you're doing just with a spell. So I did that. Cool.
Cool. And then he'll also want to cast a few prime spells to erase the traces of his castings. Just because stuff lingers, and especially now, it would definitely not be a good idea for anybody to be scrutinizing his Nimbus. Learn things about him. He doesn't know yet if his Archmastery is reflected in his Nimbus, but there's all kinds of insights that can be gained. So he doesn't want that to happen.
Yep. And it's a spy game, so you just don't want to leave traces anyways.
Yeah, don't leave traces.
Yeah, I like the idea of cleaning this place up, and then Prime 5, I was never here.
Yeah, precisely. Yep.
Okay. Quick and easy. Definitely this was something that would have been doable before you became an Archmaster. Now we're into child's play, because everything counts as ruling arcana for you now, more or less. Very well.
Great. So then he'll leave Camelot. Everyone's asleep. Of course, he was also looking to see if there were any records about the. You can just let me know yes or no if he, in the course of an hour's perusal, was able to determine if there's any records here about the movement of goods in and out of Camelot, or if that is indeed just some superficial aspect of Camelot being at war.
Oh yes, okay. I when you first mentioned it, I had forgotten about that. No, that, as far as you can tell, is more of a reflection of the Castellan's movement and attitude, rather than actually things leaving. So much as the Castellan is active in doing stuff outside of Camelot, and this is to use another mechanic, it's kind of like a long-term nimbus that has kind of worn into the astral realm unintentionally. The Castellan has these other things that they're doing, and they're preparing things other than Camelot, and unbeknownst to Sir Lucian, or perhaps he just simply didn't care, it started to have an effect on that Temenos realm itself.
Great. Okay, cool. Like I said, Legba suspects it could be one of the two things, and he's not going to know.
Yep.
So he wanted to check and see, because that could have been, I want to make sure that wasn't a useful lead. So I think that was it. You want to know where Castellan's office was, you want to know records, and then you want the map. So got those things, made a copy of it, a Goetic imprint. I think he's going to call it something like that. That's how Legba would think of it, Goetic imprint or something like that.
I like that. Yeah, the duplicate ready to go, which is really funny, because once you take into consideration that by doing this, now there is actually said duplicate in his Oneros.
Yep.
It's like, do I need to even bother summoning them? Not that they're in there. Whatever. Yeah. Very good. Now, to slightly poke fun at Ralph, because you had forgotten last time, do you finally want to go check out Heartache?
Yes, that's right. Indeed. But before we do that, there's a Temenomic realm. He's going to traipse around for another half an hour.
Okay.
He's going to walk around and dip his toes in the sand. Just kind of sit there.
In where?
I'm joking.
Oh. Needed a moment to recenter a non-Merlin himself.
Oh, yes. Actually, there is something I did say in sincerely that he was going to do. And that was he's going to go out to where he met the Liberators the first time.
Oh, yes. Okay.
We met them. And then he's going to, once again, try and send a message. Because he said he was going to do this. He said he was going to reach out to them in the same way, kind of not trying to tell them where, not soliciting information about where they currently are, but saying, things are going to be happening. You want to be a part of it? Happy to help. Happy for you to come back. Don't have to. Just that there's an outward going message. And you know how to reach me, right? Like that kind of thing. You know where to find me? You want to be a part of some things? It's going down.
Okay, I like that. If I remember correctly, it was was it a Spartan general? Yeah.
Yes, that's right. It was.
I like the idea of like going to where they were and then conjuring up a Spartan messenger, toga, good sandals on, strapped up to the knees, takes the missive, and just off he goes with the speed of Hermes to deliver a message. And similar to the dogs, it's just like, yep, I'm going to just give you this little blessing, Legba's blessing to pass boundaries. Go find them. Drop this off wherever they are. I like that.
Great.
And then go ahead.
People once again start doing some things in the material.
Sure. So
he loves the astral so much. It's so important. And he feels so validated with the anchors in the astral that he can just stay here the whole time. And he's helping the world.
I mean, technically, he is. Because you simply swap your perspective over to your sleeping body. And then kind of, in my head, take a moment to relax, to dream. This is a thing that, as an Archmage, you don't even need to do. Though, I don't know if that has yet occurred to Legba, or rather as just a like, hey, I don't need this, because like the body
What
that
do you mean?
you don't need to eat or sleep or drink,
Oh, that's
right?
right.
Like you aren't a human anymore. You're a little
Yeah.
different. So if he wanted, if any of the coven wanted, it would just be a non-thing. But I imagine, at least to call out the obvious thing for Petrichor and for Solace in Darkness, they will want to be there and sleep and be part of their families. Legba has a little bit more leeway in terms of relationships, where it's like, that's not necessary, but Legba has never been one to be doing things entirely just by necessity. So I was kind of curious his take on it.
Thank you. Yeah. So I have been thinking about this. So when, like I was talking the solution about wisdom, right? And when you work Google and when you don't, he's very eager to see how Archmastery influences the relationship with Sophia. So the one thing he knows, though, is that um, casting a spell to avoid doing something and then choosing not to do something because you don't have to, as a result of you being in some other supernatural state, but still you, both are examples of bypassing a human need and abandoning an aspect of your humanity. And the one is an active pursuit. You're choosing to cast a spell to do it. If he leans into him being an archmaster and says, I am above eating, I'm above sleeping, I'm above the basic necessities, that he's also falling prey to the kind of hubris that he's been trying to avoid. So yes, he would sleep.
Yep.
If he's able to. So the thing is, he'll be trying to do these things. If like other templates, other supernatural templates, he's physically incapable of consuming real food, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then of course he wouldn't do it, right? He wouldn't do it, just throw up. But yeah, he'll go through all the motions.
Yeah, and I think that's actually the thing that he probably discovers is he switches his senses to his sleeping body, and in my mind there is that kind of warm fuzzy feeling of like, I am sleeping, and then drifting into dream, right? There wasn't any designed lucid dreaming or anything like that when he laid down to sleep. And so, okay, I'm pulling myself out of the astral. My astral self is still floating out there, probably parked in Purgatory Bluff. And then just like, yes, here I am, sleep. And just drifting into that. So we pick up with him on the following morn, because I am sure that there are many a dog outside who howls and yaps and want food, and seeing if they can get it from him. There are morning ablutions to tend to, because you created a fully functioning body, and so we go through that, and then move in towards the day. And like I said, I think we start with visiting Heartache.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
But the first thing he does is, let's see. He wants to see what he can do about this. He doesn't know, because he hasn't done this before, but believes he can. Create some kind of barrier, restriction on the passage of ephemeral beings. So what he wants to do is, now that he's had this interaction with Sir Lucian, and he's realized that they don't know where Heartache is, and they don't have all the information. They don't know precisely what happened. He is worried about the Grigori coming. After the first interaction, the Grigori knew a lot of things, and he didn't know what a Grigori was. And he thought, hey, I mean, it's the astral realm, so things are talked about. Like we in Purgatory Bluff are talked about. So Goche, that's attached to a mage, could easily have acquired some knowledge either from that mage or by just roaming around the astral realm. So it's not absurd for him to roam around the Temenos and listen to conversations or get information. That's not silly on his face. But after getting some understanding of kind of what he is, especially through Helena, right? And kind of what the creature is, he's like, oh, this is a spy and a messenger. I don't want any chance of this spy coming here. So, he can think of two ways to do that. And I'm happy to pursue whatever makes sense to you that perhaps takes the least amount of time. The first way is, of course, casting a spell of some kind of his own in various places, right? It wouldn't be hard to ban a Goche from a realm, put a restriction or something like that. That's not a challenging thing for a master of mind. Another is to talk to the imp and put some condition, an additional condition, right? That ephemeral beings can't pass through. Whichever you find is most interesting. So
I like that. Oh, is it a matter spell that I'm thinking of? Yes, it sure is. Yeah, there's a matter spell that does exactly this. Renders a volume of inert material wholly or partially insubstantial, no more real, but you can shift it into twilight and therefore make it a blocking thing within twilight. Of course, if you had a little bit more arcana with Prime, you could just create Adamus and just be done with it. Just saying. But yeah, I actually really like the idea of calling up the imp specifically. So I ask, where do you do that at?
Oh yeah, that's really cool. That's a great idea. Once again, he has formed a relationship with the imp as a traveler, now as a seeker. So, he has always called the imp, I think, out in the outskirts of town, right?
Mm-hmm.
Out past the cabin. I think he calls him the same place. That's where he is. That's the center of their relationship. So, I think he could call him within the caverns of Nyakis if he wanted, but that's not how he started talking to the imp. That's not like, I think, fair, right?
Okay. Because the other thought I had was to meet him in his Santamani.
Oh, yeah, why not? Yeah, let's do that. First time visit him? Yeah, let's invite him in. Yes, totally.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that.
Because they have that relationship. So
yeah,
supernal beings are kind of outside of time. It's kind of the nature of supernal, but then the like, hi, things have changed. Relationship. I have new digs.
Yep, that's a good point. Yeah, let's do that.
I like that. So yes, we return to the Golden Road, which we haven't seen in a minute. And we walk down and away from the astral and the material and deep towards the Golden Place. And now I have to ask you to make a Gnosis plus Resolve roll.
Oh yeah, that's right. Wait, is this the return?
Yes.
Isn't it? It was something else. I'm happy to make Gnosis and Resolve. That sounds awesome.
I could be wrong.
I thought it was a Wits Composure roll.
Oh, you might be right.
I think it might be harder. I could be wrong. I vaguely remember reading that. It isn't the role that I would prefer.
Hold please, friends at home. It's not like we've played mages before.
Y'all don't want to watch this? We'll speed it up.
Good stuff. I like it. Reviewed.
Yeah.
Reviewed. Stamp of approval. And like I said, not worrying about the willpower dot. So I will edit some of this down.
Cool.
And we arrive at the Santamani at the end of your Golden Road, which, if I remember correctly, has that same cottage, and very similar to your own.
Yep.
And how do you
roads?
Go ahead.
Roads stretching off. There's the crossroads going in different directions. A fence, half rocks, half pickets.
Right. I'm trying to see very, very fast. I feel like there was some details. Yeah, I didn't think so. Okay. There's some stuff about talking to and visiting supernals, which we're not really doing in this case, because that would be some great big supernal entity. Supernal.
That's what we want to do next.
Yes. But in this case, we're just calling up an old friend who,
yes,
on camera, in one way or another, you have summoned up and talked to twice, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
As well as, I would imagine, more visits, especially over the decade, of just using as a, what is the term? But it's a mentor spirit. I can't remember what the term is. More esoterically, but I won't stress on it too much. But
he's also called it up off camera for the sake of reinforcing the agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's not necessarily because of his. Okay, there we go. Yeah, his tutelage, teaching, advice.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, I like the idea. It's not quite the time dog. Don't have the merit for having them stalking around, but I appreciate this spirit that has continued to be the go-to for the boundaries here, and now summoning it forth in your Sentimani, this place that is Legba personified in the supernal just a little bit, and oh man, I can't remember what it looks like. It's been a little bit since we summoned him.
Yes.
For our purposes, I am imagining
he could also be taking a different form now.
Exactly that.
In the supernal. He's never seen this. He's seen the form he takes when he invites him to the phenomenal. And he's here in the supernal in a carved out, formed, controlled area of the supernal.
I dig it. I, off the top of my head, am actually imagining. Let me make sure I have the right Loa here. Is it Damballa, the one who circles?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because obviously
Damballa takes the shape of a snake.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
Yeah. And well, specifically because I remember the encircling, because this is the other one. Because obviously you are Legba, you are the guardian.
Yep.
This is not Crossroads. This is encircling, right? And so yes, it is a great voodoo serpent, right? I imagine in appropriate iconography across and through the scales, and looking here. Yeah, okay, there we go. And male. It was like, let's get the right pronouns here. But yeah, and it is, I would imagine, potentially leaning into the imp aspect of challenging and irritating mages. And it's like, that's not quite right. Like you have this partially right. Yes, yeah, you circle, but there's more to you than this, but oh yeah, it's seen as benevolent and patient, wise and kind. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, so this thing is getting your goad, I think, by doing this, right? I think is the prodding that you get. But yes, the imp in the shape of a human-headed serpent, draws up from the, I don't know, what does the supernal realm look like beyond the borders of your Sentimani? Kind of like roiling creation is kind of what I'm imagining, right? Just like color and shapes, and nothing quite fits. And when you squint out there, even with mage sight, it gives you a headache because there's just too much of it. It's just the raw stuff.
Yeah.
But it slides forth and looks about and says, Legba, you've moved up in the world. What is this? This is my place. What are you doing here?
He says, I've decided, or no, he says, I realized that the two worlds I'm supposed to walk in aren't just the material and the astral, but rather the phenomenal and the supernal. And he says, I know of you. Would you have me greet you and acknowledge you in the guise you have taken? Or in the name you told me to use so long ago?
Well, what was his name?
I don't remember.
I thought you were about to put me on blast. Okay, yes.
No.
Yes, we used that name because we were both very good note takers and kept track of that. Yeah. Yes. But yes, the imp is very pleased to go by the name it gave you before. It's going to happen, like we are going to finish this episode and then it's going to come back to both of us. But yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the imp is like, yes, I'm more than happy to continue our relationship, even if you've moved up in the world. And yes, the phenomenal and the supernal. Welcome to both.
He says, I need your aid once again.
Really?
As you know. Yes. Other than a wish to invite you to a new home that is more akin to your own realm. Less affronting, less challenging. And perhaps after making my request, we can chat more. I'm sure there's wisdom you could show me that you would not have even thought to show me before. But I recently met with the serpent. His lackey is a Grigori. Do you know them?
The not Goche. The men
Yes.
who parade like them. Yes.
The serpent I met with quests to create a machine that will control awakenings. It is of dire import, but it will certainly fail. Not least of which because I and my coven oppose it, but also because it is a foolish endeavor. But in any case, this serpent I met with, who, and actually he says, it is useful for you to know his name. I forget what Gander. He's Gander, right?
No, he is not. He is Megan Gander.
He's Megan Gander. That's right. Big and pompous. That's right. And he's elevating, and it adds emphasis, considering he was like, I will be the one that remains. Great. Thank you. He said, he is Megan Gander. He and his brethren have transgressed the thresholds around Purgatory Bluff. I suspect they will attempt to do so again. They're wily and devious, and I have warned him off. However, before they come in body, he might come in proxy, and that Grigori might be the one that does so. So I wish to reinforce the boundary. If this is something that you would and can do, I wish to prevent unauthorized ephemeral beings from crossing the threshold. Or at least prevent unauthorized ephemeral beings of a certain nature from crossing the threshold. My preference would be for the former, but I defer to you.
Unauthorized. Under whose authority will you let them pass back and forth?
The Coven, the Witches of Purgatory Bluff. Or perhaps you.
You would have me put to service to you and your coven?
No. I would have you have the option, if you so choose, to participate in the choice of who is authorized. I do not consider you to be a mere servant. And I hope, as I've attempted, or he says, I hope I've succeeded in reflecting you in the past, that I consider us to be allies. You are accomplishing a task that I cannot. And such I'm willing to request your aid rather than demand it, expect it, or put undue constraints on it.
I think it kind of raises itself up quite high, flexing some snaky core body strength, and looks down from that height, down at you. No, you will find me. You will find me a judge. You will find me someone who somebody whose judgment you trust implicitly, who can make that decision, who will pass back and forth between your world and the world outside it. You are starting to curate within that bubble. So find a judge.
And a character. Of course, he says, trust the judgment implicitly. Lagbut's mind immediately is Petrichor, especially as his mentor in spirit.
Mm-hmm.
However, I want to, out of character, confirm that the imp is implying an ephemeral being.
In this particular case, this is the trial.
Okay, cool.
That he is setting
I know
forth.
the judge, but I mean, like in terms of finding a judge that would be acceptable, is the imp implying I should find an ephemeral being that is a judge is acceptable?
No,
okay,
this is the out of character here is you find me a judge who you trust implicitly, and then I will handle this. I think the imp says you bring me this judge, and I will then judge all the ephemeral beings as they do.
Okay, great, perfect. That makes sense. Fantastic.
So it'll be something that you probably have to work on in a minute, or I guess you might be able to find it now, but you don't know where Petrichor is. Petrichor, well,
nope.
You'd probably guess.
I mean, try and find the Tempest, but I mean, she also said she's off to Boston, so. Yep. Also, I mean, like I can perform a knowing spell.
Yep. I'm more amused, and that's if she's not on the Golden Road. I'm more amused that
of course, that's a good point. Yeah,
the folks watching this on YouTube will have a better idea of where Petrichor is than you or I do right now.
That's right. We had no idea.
So y'all in chat, feel free. You know something we don't know, and we're playing the game. I just realized I just had that realization of like I have no idea where Petrichor is, and normally in these situations, I know because they're off doing XYZ.
Yes,
I have no idea what they're up to. I can guess.
We don't know.
It will be loud. It will be brash, and it will probably be kicking fascist ass. That almost kind of rhymed. I'm very pleased with myself. Yes.
There you go.
So, and in that part, for that particular, just more of the meta knowledge, that is something that you can absolutely resolve back in Purgatory Bluff of summoning the imp and being like, I have brought you the judge.
Great.
And stuff like that. Fantastic. So that won't be like a big deal. You don't have to manufacture a reason to bring him to the Centimani and any of that.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Great. And that's good. Establishing that. I guess then moving to scrutinize moving back down to take a look at Heartache.
Yep.
If you want. But like I said, if it's okay for it to be part of the narrative, not something we're going to role play together, Legba would then entreat the imp to stay a while, considering that it's his supernal. So, and just be grateful for any conversation, any wisdom that the imp would be inclined to share or be willing to trade, considering that Legba's now a different mage.
Yeah. I think there is a lot of back and forth, and you realize that this supernal being, which itself is just this, you have surpassed it, right? There are things it can do because of the nature of boons and some stuff like that. But in terms of arcana and effective gnosis,
good point.
You've surpassed it, and so it's less of a let me learn from you and more of the exchange, right? This talking back and forth and sharing of viewpoints and stuff. And so you get it's no longer the I am learning something from you and more of the cultural exchange, right? Two we'll say, chefs.
I guess it talks shop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the hey, you know this culinary thing, I know this culinary thing. We're both cooks, but we make and work with different ingredients. Let's talk back and forth, especially when you talk vast, different, cultural regions, Asian and French. There's going to be some similarities. There's going to be a lot of differences, especially pre-modern era where we had more blending. You have that kind of conversation because all your views on space and connection and stuff like that is from the mortal perspective, and then you have their perspective in this back and forth of probably a couple hours. We would say subjectively, as you guys kind of sit. And I like the idea of talking shop and it probably assuming several other forms that prod and irritate and are I guess we would say blasphemous, or at least kind of
irreverent.
That's a much better term. Yes, where it's just hey, that's not okay. Yeah, you're trying to get something out of me, or you're trying to irritate me. But I do like for some reason I have the cottage and rocking chairs and a big thing of lemonade with ice. We're gonna sit back, relax. We're just gonna shoot the shit. And also a perspective that because for hours, no traveler does that. Because having I guess you could probably get a couple hours because it's 30 minutes a success, I think.
Yeah, you guys it wouldn't be that bad.
So you could get, but so have some
people
time.
Generally don't because it's more challenging, right? It's the least amount of time necessary in order to achieve the goal is what most people do. Also because the beings generally don't want to be there and they're not going to want to talk to you as much, right? They're willing to make an exchange. They'll grant you a boon, you do the trial, but it's the trial having a conversation. Is that what you called me for, to have a chat?
Right.
That's not what I agreed to. I will leave as soon as you finish this. If you're going to delay this, it's going to cause problems for you. But it's probably really nice that the being doesn't have to leave.
And there is no time limit.
We're innocent.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I like that. Yeah. Without even putting a time on it, you talk until you are done talking.
Yeah.
That's a good way to do it. And very casually return back to Purgatory Bluff, which is probably also kind of fun for because there is no spell, right? You just go back. It's not because even with your legacy attainment, that's still a spell. Still, this is just I will it, and you are there.
Yeah. That's cool.
And appear out of your the domain that you have set up in the caverns of Neakis. Make your way down to the jail cell, and the urn in the corner, sitting there with a watcher spirit sitting over it. And of course, you don't need to interact with And I believe the Watcher Spirit was explicitly told that you guys were cool.
Yep.
And you focus in some Archmage level focus mage sight on this thing.
Yeah.
And I will not have you roll.
Okay.
Because this is... There was locked opacity. I can't remember exactly what I had locked it by.
4.
Yeah, but there's a task or some aspect.
What locked it?
Yeah.
I misunderstood. Sure.
But in my mind, that is for mages.
Mm.
As an Archmaster, this is something in your realm. This is that elevated Ascension War stuff. It's like, okay, let me see what's here. It takes you a minute because this is new stuff that you haven't seen before. I think of it as Legba walking in and looking at this thing and seeing new supernal symbols that you've never seen before and having to translate them to figure out what they mean, less than penetrating into actually see it. The big thing is it is not a supernal being.
Fantastic.
It is a mass of minds. Literally Goetia on Goetia on Goetia. And as you watch them, you see them churning and making more of them. It is a Hydra, it is Legion, it is a... I think the term is Anunnaki, which are the like living spells. This is akin to it, is so much as it is a self-propagating spell, and all it does is make more thoughts. Continually, constantly crammed into a, it's mind, Goetia. Like, it doesn't care about space at all. You guys just have crammed it into this urn. And I think the big difference that you also come back from, besides it being, hey, I'm an Archmaster now, is it has gotten denser. There are more thoughts. And like being a Mastigos, we just try and pluck one of them out, and just kind of inspecting a couple of them. And like, there is no removing it. It is, while it is all different thoughts, it is still one entity. And there is some like some stuff here that just doesn't line up to normal mage shenanigans and our nice categories of stuff. And it's like, it's a bunch of Goetia. It's also just one. No, but okay, this is what I am observing. It is there's no sense of like abyss about it. And then as you pluck and look at them and you realize you can't remove it from the whole without literally cutting it. Each one is a new thought. And this is the part where Drew reveals the mad machinations that I have. It is effectively infinite monkeys bouncing on infinite typewriters. So all these different thoughts are just nonsense thoughts. Some of them are like real thoughts. It's like Red Fox. That is definitely a thing. Sure, absolutely. Jubilant melancholy. What? And then others that are just like, oh yes, the orange hour, or and something, and it's just it's not abyssal.
It's a band name generator.
Huh?
It's a band name generator.
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, you're not wrong. Like, and some of these thoughts are short little 2-word blips, and some are like full sentences, some are full paragraphs. It is just literally just churning and trying to come up with what you would imagine is like an artificial duplication of the Tibenos. Just to put in like how Legba would think of it. It is like I'm trying to come up with every possible thought anybody could ever have, and it's just churning and churning and churning and churning. And
Wow.
I mean, it's been around for more than a decade, and going back to that journal. Ooh, actually, I wonder, do I have that in my notes? Some of the dates go back so far. Yeah. And so it has just been doing this. And especially having met two somebody so far who have been way back to the beginning of time. Yeah, you would not be surprised if this thing has just been churning every day since the day after the fall.
It's the fall. Yeah, that's what I would suspect. So I want to ask a clarifying question. When you say new, Legba is of course going to try and determine if that means new in a supernal sense, the Platonic ideal of new, meaning that this thought has never been thought before, or if it's just a new thought for the collective of thoughts.
The new for the collective of thoughts.
Okay, yeah. So, but they're constantly producing new thoughts so that they have a diversity of thoughts. So every thought they're making is like a new thought that hasn't been represented within the collective.
Yep.
Or if somehow they had some connection to the Temenos, so it's like this is a thought no individual being has ever had, or it's never been talked about. So that's a new thought.
Yeah. If I were talking to an Obrimos or maybe even a Canthus, this would be more of a branching thing where it's like, here's a word. Okay, what every other word can come after it. Okay, now all those and all those and all those. Whereas I feel like a Mastigos would see it more as, I had a new idea, I had a new idea, I had a new idea, as opposed to something with a pattern to it. It is just...
It's all in his mind.
Yes, yeah. And like each of them are these individual Goetia, and they don't really have thoughts other than the one thought I have got.
Oh yeah, and that's what they are. They just represent that thought.
Yep. And so it is just this chaotic mess of, I guess the Acanthus would probably think of every possibility, right?
That's good. Yeah.
It is.
So
go ahead.
I was like, from his recollection of the journal, right, which he could call what limited information he acquired from the journal the first time, and then review that. He thinks this entity, as we have established, is eons old, and has been constantly sharing his thoughts. So of course, he's curious where it came from, and he's curious why. But the other question he wants to answer in the course of his scrutiny is not just if it's a Goetian, it's a spell, and if we're not in like a being, a supernal being, but let's see, does it have a directive?
I think it's just grow.
Okay, all right. Okay, so it's to grow. It's growing by producing these thoughts. And okay, it is raw thought. He also then wants to determine if it has any other, if it's tied to any other arcana.
Yes and no.
Okay.
So looking at it, it appears to have really only the symbols of mind and prime. But there are, we'll say, gaps, sockets, where other aspects and other arcana would fit quite nicely, were one to add to it. Right now, it's just been left as thought, and you imagine prime just because prime was used to create it. But like there would be influence from some of these other arcana that would then grow it in other ways, I think is a way to think of it.
Cool. Okay, great. That's helpful. Cool.
And a throwback to the journal, which had all these different dates and locations. You're not sure, but within the pattern of sightings and where it would go and stuff like that, you also feel like its movements would probably they're just ever so slightly off, like it were moving and bouncing around in the stellar sky, such that it was constantly over a slightly different spot over Earth every single time. For us modernly, we would think like, oh yeah, it's like a GPS satellite, but rather than remaining stationary, it's trying to go back and forth all over the globe to get an imprint and a look at everything. And so, and or I guess for our purposes here, being exposed to every aspect of and every sight that could be seen from high up above in whatever little spot something placed it in.
Ah, I see. It's a reflection of thought.
Oh, that's a
It's
good way
thought
to think of
itself,
it.
but it's also a reflection of thought, considering the thinking minds. It is just representing the thoughts themselves. It's not representing the minds, right? It is not actually a collection of minds. Legba, of course, long ago would think of it only as minds, right? He's like, like there's some thoughts in there, so it must be a bunch of individual entities that have been amalgamated, and they're thinking.
And
Whereas
when
now he
you
understands
looked up, it would have been very loud.
Yeah. So loud noise, somebody's making the noise, right? He wouldn't think it's some giant spell that's just generating noise.
Yep.
And so now he sees it as that. He sees it as a spell that generates the thoughts themselves, and there are thoughts together, and each individual Goetia that's part of this collective Goetia is itself just a thought. It is not a mind that generates thoughts themselves. The spell generates thoughts. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay,
yeah.
great.
There is no actual active thinking. Now this was the like original plan, but to use a more common and what is becoming more relevant, this would be like a learned language machine, right? It's just generating words without really knowing anything. It could spout out the right answer if it had something. If it was, say, plugged into the Temenos, it might be able to have context for words and phrases. Yes. Is this a little bit of a shot now at AI? Yeah, just a little bit, guys. But yes, it is. But it is literally, it is knowledge without wisdom. It is knowledge without understanding. It is just words. And there's names in here, Aristotle this, and, everything, it's in there. It just has no kind of organization or direction. But put into other stuff, it could become quite the thinking machine.
Yes, that makes sense to me. Yeah. If it has some direction, so that it's nature's ability to generate thought based on raw probability, if that's directed, it was deterministic instead of just stochastic, then yeah, it could be quite powerful because it can generate many specific thoughts within constraints.
Yep. Or
and we can get a subscription
or possibilities.
Their phones, and
yep.
And then once it's there, then you don't have to write in your own emails. Everyone's better off for it, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Or doesn't need that. Yeah. All right. So in Legba, of course, looking at that, and you describing it means it's moving over. Legba's taking that to suggest that this influences or informs the spell's ability to generate these thoughts if it is perceiving thoughts being had or something like that. So he's going to look for some receptive ability, like some ability for that to influence it being high up in like perceiving thinking beings. It's possible that it isn't the case, but he wants to make sure he's not reaching the incorrect conclusion about it moving around slightly differently. Because if it was like, scouring the globe by seeing everything, one interpretation of that is it needs to view every single possible place in the globe, because that just completes its ability to generate these thoughts.
I think in inspecting it and just looking on a what Goetia, what thoughts are most recent for it, you are seeing a lot of the names that are in town, a lot of the things that get
Oh.
discussed in town. It is very
no.
much exposed to the thoughts of Purgatory Bluff. And so a lot of
Okay.
the new thoughts that it is thinking are tied to and just mundane life and stuff like that. But it is absolutely exposed to Purgatory Bluff and is learning from Purgatory Bluff.
Okay. Well, that's really good to know.
Way back when you're like, we're gonna keep it in town. Okay.
Look, to be fair, out of character, I'm fine with it being in town.
Yeah.
Also, it's good for the story. But in character, to be fair, like I said, why not a pocket realm?
Yep.
Why not a pocket dimension? Isn't it generally just safe? You don't want something to be around, just put it in a pocket dimension.
Yep.
Geez. All right. So that's gonna be in the group text in the bulletin board, along with all the other stuff. But Lego still has to work on that spell with Archmage Rilla about giving people notice in the Golden Road. Okay, so great. This is what Legba has gathered. It's not a being of itself. He's not going to feel bad about destroying it because he's not going to be undoing some sentient creature or representation of the supernal that he should be doing. So then he within himself, remember he's done this a few times as some way of a kind of instant check-in with your daemon. He casts a knowing spell of Prime in Mind to know if he feels it would be unwise to proceed along the path. Unwise to him. Remember, this isn't like a fate spell he's trying to cast, like what the outcome is, but just to make sure he's just doing a vibe check within himself. If he feels it would be unwise to proceed along the path of destroying it as opposed to another step.
Gotcha. The short meta out of character knowledge is destroying this would not be unwise. Capital U or capital W wise. Now, whether it is the tactical decision to make now,
of course, yes.
But yes,
because he can't make that himself. But he's just like, should I even consider that? Am I going to be making a mistake? Like, I don't know.
I should unmake this with Prime or Mind. I would probably be just fine and not suffer a wink at it, because after your investigation, this is not a thinking thing. This is made to imitate thinking, which also, now that you've had your conversation with Sir Lucian, okay, this is the thing that makes it move, and then there's going to be something that gives it directive, and this will never come up with a thought to rebel. It will just do.
Yep.
So, because like even Goche, if you put it in, it's going to have motivations. It's going to have ideas. It's going to have thoughts. If you put a person in there, same thing. Put a soul in there, same thing. This thing is as close to independent thought without being. This is the potentially mockery of thought.
Yeah, this is the ideal that those who enslave are actually looking for.
Yep.
Even when people are creating machines,
give me answers, you can do things, but you won't ever think for yourself. Yep.
Makes sense. So he suspects, of course, it's a creation of the Exarchs, but he can't be sure about that.
I would go ahead and mention, because that is part of Focus Mage site, that yes, the down there in the deep core of it is the Iron Seal and some of the first thoughts. I would go so far as to say that down there's the Iron Seal and the seed thought of oppression, right? This down in the core, there it's rotten to the core.
Good. Yeah. Okay. So yes, he's done that. He still needs to go into Supernal, see how to deal with it. But it is not his choice. Well, trying to remember what we agreed on. Like my attitude, 1, out of character, and 2, like was attitude in character is I'm not just going to go up there and just destroy it. However, I need to remember what what the coven discussed is Legba's responsibility was going to be, what he specifically volunteered to do.
Primarily, everybody was, we're going to break up and go find anchors, or in case of Max, she's going to go look for allies within the Diamond Order. Of
Perfect.
course, all our folks in YouTube are yelling at us of what they were up to. But yes, the goal here was, let's go check out anchors. Let's see if we can locate them and check for weaknesses.
Great.
Which,
Cool. And then Legba was like, okay, I'll make sure something's doing my homework so I can do other things. Great. Okay. So yes, he didn't agree on discuss any specific action that he was responsible for taking with this, but we need to know. Okay, great. So then he needs to think about what he's going to ask for when he visits the Supernal. I think Legba's attitude is this: this thing needs to go away. We know from our conversations with Rilla that if the thing exists in any timeline, it can be acquired and it's a risk. So it being around is the problem. It needs to not be around. There's lots of ways to do that. He shouldn't just get rid of it and everybody comes back and he, dusts off his hands and he says, we got to look for those anchors, but I scored some points, y'all. Okay. So I went up there, I went to Supernal. I was like, what's going on, Freedom? Like, look, you give me a boon because I'm going to get rid of this heartache. And Freedom was like, yeah, what's in it for me? And I was like, being my friend. And Freedom was like, that sounds great, bro. And then I came down and I was like, take this heartache. And Heartache was like, I wanted to leave anyway. Bye-bye forever. That's what happened.
Yep.
That's what happened, y'all.
Yep. A quick wrap up of the episode. And Legba goes into that real quick. No. You'll definitely want to talk with them about it, especially because there are those linkages to other arcana that others may get information for. And also, at the end of the day, still have to figure out how to actually damage the body of the machine.
Yeah.
And these controls. Especially because now that you have seen this thing wasn't going to be in control.
Yeah. So he then thinks he needs to, he wants to find some means to unmake it, right? The first question he asks to himself is just, wait a minute, could I just unmake this now with an unmaking spell? It's a being. Could I just do that? But would it be completely unmade? He sees the iron seal and it's like, there's no way this is, how could this be? This is a spell of arch mastery, so I can't just cast it. So this is, the quick thoughts he goes through. He's like, okay, so that validates his initial suspicion that he needs to ask for help.
Yeah, because from your understanding with your prime, you could unmake it, the goetic entity. The spell that makes it would remain. And you would need, I think it's Excision allows you to dispel Imperial spells. And in your case, you would get to roll a Clash of Wills against the Exarch.
Yeah.
Hint, you lose those.
Yep. So, okay, great. So then he knows that even though getting rid of it is a goal, that he still wants to request assistance from a supernal being. It would be useful. He also thinks this, if he needs to employ a boon to accomplish the thing I'm about to say, that's fine. But if not, what he would try and do is, remember when he used that ability of negative space, or that based on negative space, he was trying to create some goetic impression around the gap in Jeremiah's memory.
Yes.
So he could gain information about what probably was there, right? Like, even if he can't see it, it's like, there's projections and stuff like that.
Right.
What's missing? What kind of thing is missing? Right? It doesn't tell you exactly what was there, but it helps you, right? It's better to know information.
Right.
The sockets that he's observing for other arcana, he wants to understand how these other arcana would be plugging in. I know that you were being concise in how you described that, and you weren't like leaving out information, but I'm just elaborating on what Lego would try and look for.
The short answer is these would be levers.
Cool. Okay, gotcha.
Using different arcana to lever or be levered by the device. In short, this is where the controls fit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. That's what I figured. Leg was trying to figure out the manner in which they engage the entity. Now, I realize we're all talking about mage and we're doing navel gazing stuff where he's through focus mage side trying to find this information about this intangible entity that's going to plug in with like raw magic that's going to control the thoughts that it generates. But, I will just ask the question and see where the conversation goes, right? So Legba is thinking, hey, is this going to, in its way, be some kind of like perfected lever that is then going to pull on a mass of thoughts that then pushes the thoughts to generate in one way, right? In an analogy, think an analogy, right? Is it pressing a button, okay? Or is what's actually happening, it's like there's a socket and the magic floods into it. And then there's a more like kind of, it is directed, but it's not forced, right? Like it's not like sending electricity and all of a sudden a thought comes out. It's like the thoughts are of a different nature as a consequence of the connection to the raw magic.
You're asking me questions I hadn't thought to answer. I think the way that Legba sees it is there is some, I think the idea would be that it would be receptive to different spells of different arcana causing different reactions. So for instance, one could feed it a mind spell that gives it some kind of mind to look for or some thoughts to act on. One could give it life and kind of identify a type of life to look for or a type of action, to influence and stuff. So using those arcana punch codes for a computer. Right. This is, I'm going to feed it this data with this arcana, this data with this arcana, this data with this arcana within the purviews. There's probably some that, do double duty. But yes, it is user friendly. What arcana do you got? Okay, cool. We can use that over here. We can use that over here. If you're missing an appropriate arcana, you're probably going to have to get a buddy. But it is, I think, eerily easy to use. If you know what you're doing. There's definitely an idea that there is no password protection on this thing, because if you get to where it is and where the controls are and where these spells would be cast or potentially imbued items that have certain purposes cast, then you probably deserve to be here and to be in charge of this thing. Is kind of the idea. And it's a little bit of pride and hubris of Sears, but yes, this is a thing that shouldn't be, and then is being controlled by the most rudimentary, simple stuff. Which also on the flip side means that the Exarchs could get any awakened schmuck to drive this thing.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Meaning that the magic that feeds into it doesn't need to be imperial.
Nope. No.
Okay.
Well, I would say that these are nice, clean, easy, knowing sockets. Maybe up to like weaving.
Okay.
Just to kind of give direction and guidance. And this is the thing you need to do now. And it would just go.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Or, and actually I think this will be the other thing, it's also capable of handling a lot. So if there were a lot of people casting a lot of spells, it would be able to handle all of it.
Okay, gotcha. useful. Okay, great. So good. It's good for Legba. I mean, especially as a Mastigos, to see some confirmation that the number of sockets, right, is not a true reflection of limitations. So even if there's one socket, it isn't the only space.
Correct. That's a good way to think of it.
Only, so it's helpful for him to see, okay, it is compatible with simple magic, and that will influence the thoughts that it generates.
Yep.
Great. Okay. Then Legba also wants to know why it was all the way up there. If there's any information there. Like, why was it placed there?
Oh, in space. Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah,
just like,
in space, far away.
Literally just to and that one I think is not even a focus mage site. That is just because then it's out of the way, right? Like, yeah, people look up to the stars and stuff like that, but it was camouflaged against mundane sight. Only a wacky guy who happened to notice this thing and got nearly discredited by the
Royal Society.
Thank you. Yeah. And like, because you saw a black spot in the dark sky, that's what you're looking and like, and mages, if a mage had heard about this, they might have given it a look and probably had a new obsession. But what are the chances of that? And especially because Mortimer Lindquist. Wait, no. Nope, that's Dresden Files. That was straight up Dresden Files.
I think it was Mortimer, though. It was Mortimer.
Oh. Mortimer Bethune.
There you go.
Yep. Mortimer Lindquist is Dresden Files. He's a great character. Love him to death. Not the guy we're talking about. Mortimer Bethune. Yes, he was the gentleman, and yes, he's not a very known, wasn't very well regarded, wasn't really sharing information out. He had one assistant and a secretary, to use his language, and they didn't really know what was going on other than, we got here, we found it, and yep, here it is up in the sky. What is it? We don't know. So it's not even something that would have shown up in the Temenos realm. There is a lot of fate and chance that led this to be discovered by the Coven in Purgatory Bluff, and to get on the
that.
Yeah. Thank you, architect.
Yeah.
But yes, for the most part, it would have
That's what I should be referring to as the architect instead of Rilla.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
But yes,
that's what Legba thinks of her now as well. So.
But yes, in short, yes, that is the big thing there, is that they just thought it was going to be safe up there. Just the way camouflaged, exposed. Like if you brought it down closer in the sky, you'd be able to see it. Could you do something invisible? Possibly, but all it would take is just a mage with mage sight to look up and go, there's a thing there. But far off into the sky, I mean, you guys didn't even see it until you whipped out the telescope, or in Helena's case, I think she did the forces spell to see very, very far and squinted right at it because she knew where to look. Yeah, also because it's also a, itty bitty little thing to the naked eye. So, yeah. They did their best.
Makes sense.
And yet...
Hey, you got to give them credit.
Yep.
They're trying to... They're just working so hard. You just work so hard. It's hard to keep people down. Yep. It's hard to be a supernal symbol and just, you don't have a body and nobody acts right. Like you come into the dreams of your servants and they try and rebel against you. You got to replace them. And then like people keep trying to come up there and like take up your space. And like, well, you're just trying to make the world right. You were the first ones to get up there, so you deserve to be the only ones. Right? It's not absurd than the oracles are like giving out awakenings.
We climbed up this ladder and pulled it up behind us. Ain't nobody come. Yeah.
I built the ladder. Why should you be up here?
Yep.
Oh, I'm probably gonna poop on my roof. You're probably gonna poop on it. You should stay down there. Leave me alone. I'm just trying to be myself, which is horrible. Is anything wrong with that?
Yes.
Don't I deserve that?
Oh, good stuff. I think that is probably a good spot for us to pause. I will go ahead and let you know that there's messages waiting for you in your cottage about the anchors. But we'll pick that up next time.
Yes, absolutely.
Good
Fantastic.
stuff. Thank you for joining me, Ralph. Folks at home, thank you for sitting through this one. This was a long one. Ralph and I get together and we get chatty. It's literally a problem. We literally took a minute to even get started on either of these episodes so far because we just got chatty. So thank you.
It's a good time.
Yeah, it's a very good time. So thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Oh, wait, no, hang on. Come by Discord, www.yeetinto.space. Come chat with us. We like getting chatty. And if you want to support us monetarily, that's www.staylucky.club. And now we'll see you next time.
Adios.